Hello, everybody. Hello again. I hope you are well. So, today we're going to talk about how to use the Views section on the PowerPoint software. So let's get directly to it. Now, there's different ways of looking at your presentation. Okay, one of the things that we need to consider is the View pane right here. Now, this is really important. It's really important to understand how this works. Now, we have four different options. Now, the normal view is the one that we usually have, which is this one, in which we can see your main slide, the one that you're working on here, and over here you see the pane or the sidebar where you have all the rest of the slides on the content, specifically on this file. Okay, now the other way that we can look at it is just with the outline. Now, the outline is also pretty important, where you just want to, instead of looking at the pictures, you want to focus on the text itself. Like in this case, that I have this information and this text. Sometimes the text that you have in there is something that you need to focus on. So this outline view is actually quite important. I've used it several times during my presentations. Now, the slide sorter. This is also pretty important when you want to take a look at the specific number of slides that you have, and you want to take a look at them, especially if you have a lot of slides, and that does happen. So let's say you have a serious amount of slides, something like this, and then you have, I don't know, hundreds of slides or something like that, and you need to look at them all in just one big picture. So you look at them like this. Okay, you can zoom in or zoom out and take a look at them in greater detail, and so forth and so on. Of course, this is not the case, right? Right now we're repeating a bunch of them, but this also has a pretty good use if you are a person who has a lot of slides. Okay, so we're back to the original 10. And finally, we're going to look at the notes page. Now, in this one is also something that you can print or you could use for your own benefit. In the notes page, you have your notes here, the notes that only you are looking at. Now, we haven't touched on this, but we'll touch on it in a few moments. Okay, on how to insert the notes and where you can look at them during your presentation. Now, let's go to our normal view. Now, in the normal view, we have the slide that you're working on. You have the sidebar or the slide pane on this side. And down here you have the notes. Now, these notes are something that the presenter should be the only one able to see. Okay? Now, this is pretty important. If I'm looking at the notes right here, okay, these are not supposed to be visible for anybody but you. All right? So how do we make sure of this? Well, this is the setup, the show setup. Okay, now we're going to talk about the first two, the presented by a speaker in full screen and the browsed in an individual window. Now, I'm going to leave it in the first option. Okay, now the picture that you're going to see here, right here, of course, is the presenter view. Now, as you can see, we have this image right here, which is what everybody else is looking at. Now, all of the rest of these images, the rest of these are not visible to the public because only this is the part that they're looking at. Okay, it looks something like this. Okay, so this picture right here is the one that you're looking at in the computer, and right here is what the projector is showing for everybody else, for the public. Now, as you can see here, this is the current one you have, the current slide. This over here is the next slide. Here are the notes that only you're looking at. As you can see, the notes are not seen here. They're only seen here. And down here you have all of your slides, the slides as you go through them. Okay, so this is actually pretty important, all this information, and it's important for you to consider that this is the way that you will be looking at if you have two monitors or if you have a monitor and you have a projector where everybody else is looking. Okay, now in case of, for example, that you don't have a projector and that you're looking at it through just simply through your own screen. Now you could swap displays, and then the people can actually look at the presenter view, and you could look at the view that you have, on your the view that you have on your screen or on the projector can be swapped. So in this case, we don't want to look at it. We want everybody else to see this screen, and we want to see the presenter view, which is something like this. Okay. Now, as you move forward, of course, it shows you the way that the animations are. Now, as you can see, this is what they're looking at. They haven't seen this. The next part that's going to show up is the most spoken language, this text, and this is not seen here. They're not looking at this. They're not seeing this. But if I push forward, it's going to appear. Now, everybody else is looking at it. Okay, so this view is actually quite important. Okay, so let's exit this. Now, also in the setup, if we want to look at it individually, we don't want to show it to the projector. We would just want to show it ourselves. We just want to see it ourselves. We look at this, and then we click on that. So we click again. I wasn't clear. We click on Browse to buy an individual, and it shows up on a window. Okay, like this. All right, so we click on it, and then we look at it like this. Okay, so now we see the presentation, but there's no other. There's no presenter view. There's nothing else. It's only this, and we're only looking at this on the projector. We're still looking at nothing, at the other picture that was there originally. Okay, now I hope this is clear. This is a very interesting way of doing it. Okay, and this is quite easy to do it. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is how to advance automatically between slides. Okay, so this is going to bridge over to the next part. So we're going to select the transition. Okay, let's go to the transition pane. We have the fade. We have the fade through black. Now, right here, this is important. It says on mouse click, which means that if we start the presentation, now I'm gonna show you this directly on the individual side. So again, on mouse click, if we start the presentation, it's going to stay there. And it's going to stay there until we tell it to, until we click on it, or until we push forward key on our keyboard. So now I'm going to push it, and there, it changed. It changed over to the next slide. Okay, however, this thing is pretty important. We can also time it. So let's say that we click on that, and then we're going to time it over to 1 second. Okay, so in 1 second, it's going to automatically change over to the next slide. Let's see what happens. Okay, so there it is. It should be 1 second, and it changes over to the next one. Now, I didn't click on anything. It changed automatically. Now, the next slide is not changing. It's not doing anything because I didn't time it. So let's go over to the transition on the second one. As you can see, this is not clicked. It's only clicked on the first one. Okay, but on the second one, let's say that I want it to last a little bit longer. Okay, we click on this. It's already selected, and we push 2 seconds. Let's go all the way to the beginning again. Let's start, and let's wait for 1 second, change, then 2 seconds, and change. Okay, and this one is not supposed to change because it doesn't have a timer. Okay, now we could also select all of them. If we want all of them to change in a specific timer, we click on this thing right here. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, and we put, let's say, 1 second for each one of them. And they should all automatically change within 1 second. Okay, so the first one's going to last 1 second. Then it's going to go forward, 1 second, forward, 1 second, forward, and so on. And as you can see, it keeps going until it hits the end. It's a total of 10 slides, and it also does the animations, of course, all within 1 second. And then it goes on to the next one. This is the one before last, the last one, and then it automatically ends. Okay, so that's another way to do it. Now, we've already timed it all for 1 second. Okay, it's all going to go automatic. But let's say that I want it to keep going in the end, and I don't want it to end. Okay, so I go again to slideshow, and then the setup right here, and then I push here, loop continuously until we push escape. So let's click on it. Okay, it's going to advance slides using timings if present. In this case, there are timings. Okay, so we're going to click on it, and then we're going to let it go. But let's make it a little bit quicker. Okay, I'm going to change the transitions, but instead of 1 second, I'm going to put half a second. So that's 0.5 seconds, and everything is going to go faster. Okay, half a second, and it's going to change into the next one. There we go. There we go. Doesn't look like half a second, but still going forward. Oh, it's half a second between each transition. That's why. Okay, so it goes forward, keeps going, half a second. Now, the thing is that when it comes to the end, it's going to last half a second, and then it's going to start again. Okay, and it keeps going again and again in a loop. It's not going to finish until we tell it to finish, but it's going to automatically keep going on a loop. Okay, endlessly. Let's do just one more just to verify. I'm not pushing anything. This thing is going automatically on a timer. Thank you. And then it starts again. Okay, pretty good. Now, if I pushed escape and it starts, it goes back to this view. Okay, so let's do the setup. And yeah, I don't want to loop it anymore. So I take it off. Okay, perfect. There we go. All right, now the next thing I want to show you, now that we have all of this stuff ready, is to insert the notes. Now, as you can see, there are these notes down here. Now, usually you see this thing empty right there, and it says click to add notes. Now, I use this as a tool to present whenever it is I'm going to do a presentation in front of an audience, or sometimes when I'm teaching a class, I put my notes down here. This is a very important tool, something that helps me a lot. For example, there are I already have this, so there you go. There are more than 6,500 languages on Earth. Some of the countries with the most countries, there you go, with the most languages are in southern Asia, for example. Okay, so when I start the presentation on a full screen, on a speaker view, or on a presenter view rather, we're going to see these notes right here, which is pretty cool. Oh, the transitions are going. Sorry, let's eliminate the transitions right here, and there we go. The transitions are not present anymore. So let's look at this. So again, the presenter view we see here, and then I can start talking. I can say there are more than 6,500 languages on Earth, and some of the countries with the most languages are in Southern Asia. Especially the countries with the most languages on Earth is actually China. I'm sorry. Let me repeat that. The country that has the language, the most spoken language, is China, and that language is Mandarin. That is spoken by more than 1.2 billion people. That's 16% of all the population on the planet. Now, note that this is something that I'm looking at. Nobody else is looking at it. So they don't know if I'm reading, they don't know if I'm committed to memory, and sometimes I put this just so I know where I am and I don't forget. I don't usually memorize my scripts. I'm not a fan of that. I don't really need it. It doesn't work for me anyways. If it works for you, fine. But yes, so I put these notes to actually keep reminding me of what I'm talking about. The oldest language comes from North Africa, and it's more than 4,000 years old. Now, something that I noted here is that it says North African. This is actually incorrect. It's supposed to be North Africa. Okay, it comes from North Africa, and it's more than 4,000 years old, which is really quite interesting. Okay, and it comes from Egypt. The Egyptian language is the oldest language on Earth. Okay, and it comes from more than 4,600 years ago. And modern Egyptian is actually derived directly from it, and its sentencing is written in hieroglyphs, which is basically a drawing system. Okay, and the least spoken languages, the first one we're going to talk about is about Northern Scandinavia, is the Sami language with its many variations, and is spoken by more than 15,000 people, which is actually not many. And of course, right now, one of the least spoken languages is called Ongota, which is in southwest Ethiopia, and as of 2012, approximately registered, there were only 12 people who spoke it. And then, as you can see, I'm basically reading all of this, but again, the people who are in the audience are not looking at this, which makes this a great tool. Now, the last thing that I want to note that I want to talk about in regards to the notes is the printing of this presentation, the printing or the turning it into a PDF file. Okay, so we go directly here to print, and there are several setups that we can use. Okay, we push here in PowerPoint, and the layout. The first one that we have is the slides. Okay, the slides of course in letter. Okay, so we have the slides. Okay, and if we want to print it out, or if we want to create this as a PDF file so we can give it to people, we don't click on print. We don't choose this, especially if we don't have a printer present, but we can turn it into a PDF file. Now that we are more eco-friendly and we want to use less paper, we can use this option. So we save it as a PDF file right here. Again. Okay, and we're going to give it a name. Let's put it on the desktop. So languages of the world 2, perfect. We're going to save it. There, it processes everything, and then we're going to look at the way it shows. Here we go. That's the PDF file, and it's going to show us the slides in perfect order. As we can see here, there's slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, and so forth and so on. Okay, so we have the slides just like we see it on our screen, but there's various other options that we can also use. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's go to print and use some of the other options that we have here. Okay. So here we have in layout, we have slides, we have handouts, which means that we can give these to our audience to follow if we want. Okay, which shows basically 2 slides by each one of the pages per page. Okay, 3 slides. This is one of my personal favorites because in this one, people can actually take notes. You can give this out to people. You save it as a PDF. Again, okay, and let's see, 3 slides. Okay, so we save it as 3 slides, and then we look at it. Let's take a look at it right here. There we go. So now we have it printed out in 3 slides, and it has the slide followed by a series of lines in which you can take notes, or the audience can take notes if you want to give it to them. Now, this is also a very important tool that can help you improve on your presentations by receiving feedback from the audience. I love this. This is a great tool, and it's going to help you become a better presenter in the future. And finally, just to end this real quick, to show you the different options that we have 4 slides. We have 6 slides per page, and I believe we also have 9 slides per page. And also, there's another one in which we only see the notes, the page followed by the notes. This is something that you can use for yourself to have as a reference, or to use it whenever you're going to be doing it and you want to have something in your hand. I don't recommend you having something in your hand. Some presenters do it just to make sure that they don't forget anything. But you have the option right there. So anyways, if you have any questions, please drop me a message on the videos or send me an email, whatever you want. Thank you very much.